So in this lesson, we're going to be discussing decimals, okay? And specifically, we're going to be looking at place value and rounding, and then we're going to be looking at how to add and subtract. So first, let's go ahead and make sure that we look at our objectives. So we want to make sure we understand the place value of a digit to the right of the decimal point, and how do you use the place value to round a number. Okay, so just as a reminder, and we're going to specifically look at the right of a decimal. Remember, the first number to the right of the decimal point is called the tenths place. Remember, the first number that's to the right of the decimal is called the tens place. The second number is the hundredths place. And the third number is the thousandths place. So we're just multiplying by 10 to get the next one. So that means after we multiply another 10, and we get the 10,000ths place. And it keeps going to infinity. So after the 10,000ths would be the 100,000ths, then the millions, then the 10 millions, the 100 millions, the billions. Okay, and notice at the end of each one is THS. So that's how we know it's after the decimal point or to the right of the decimal point. So if we were to pronounce this number that I have written here at the bottom, I know that to the left, this is 68,423. I pronounce the decimal point and, so I don't say point, I say 68,423. And then we look at the last digit to the right of the decimal, and its place value tells me how to pronounce the right side of the number. So this would be 15, 10,000. So we pronounce this 68,423 and 15 10,000s. Okay, so the reason we need to make sure we know place value is specifically probably the most often seen place is with rounding. So let's say we needed to round this number 432 and 846 thousandths to the nearest tens place. Well, I know that the tens place is the first digit to the right of the decimal point. So remember our rules for rounding. We look to the right and I see a 4. And then remember 4 or less, let it rest. So that means this would be rounded. So I'm using the approximately symbol, not equals. 432 and 8/10. Okay, next one says round to the nearest whole number. Well, the whole number part is going to be the ones place. So I look to the right and I see it's an 8. So the 8 tells me to go up. So, because remember it's 5 or more, raise the score. So that 2 is no longer going to stay at 2. It's going to go up by 1. So I get 400 approximately and 33. So 433 would be the number rounded to the nearest whole. So if we rounded it to the nearest hundredths, okay, remember it goes tenths, hundredths, so that's here. I look to the right, and the right number to the right is a 6. So remember, 6 is greater than 5, so that means I'm going to increase it by 1. So that means this is approximately 432 and 85 hundredths. Okay, now it says to the nearest 10. There's no THS after that, so I want the tens place, which is going to be where the 3 is. So I look to the right, and it has a 2. So I know that 2 is less than 5, so that means I'm not going to go ahead and go up. I'm going to keep it. So I keep the 4 the same. The 3 is going to stay because the 2 told me don't change it. But remember, with the whole number part, I have to put the zeros in, but I don't have to put in the zeros that are to the right of the decimal point. So it would be 430 would be the approximation to the nearest 10. So now here's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use this information and we're going to do some arithmetic with some decimals. So adding and subtracting is pretty easy with decimals. It's the same as multi-digit addition and subtraction with the little couple extra things you just got to remember. Okay, so here's the steps. So usually it's easiest if you write the problem vertically. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewrite it vertically. And I need it so that the decimal point aligns everything. So my second number, here's my decimal point. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the digits in the location, same location as the first number. And there's my 8. Okay, now it says add zeros at the ends of number to get equal decimal places. Now, for addition, this is kind of optional, but it's actually a little bit easier for you. That way you can see what numbers you're adding. Okay, so you don't have to do this next thing that I'm going to show you, but I just want you to kind of think about it, just kind of making your work a little bit neater. Make sure that your digits are lined up vertically. Okay, now you add. Okay, we're going to add in the direction of starting from the right to the left. So we go 0 plus 9 is 9. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 7 is 7. I bring down my decimal point. 3 plus 8 is 11. I carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So the sum of 13 and 200ths and 8 and 709 thousandths is exactly 21 and 729 thousandths. Okay, so again, we wrote the problem vertically. We added zeros to get an equal number of decimal places. We added the digits from right to left, and then we brought the decimal point down into the sum. And I did it as I was working on the addition. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video a second and see if you can do these on your own, and then we'll check. Okay, so let's see how you did. So we write them so that we're lined up at the decimal point. I'm going to fill in a 0 after the 9 and the 8 and 49 hundredths. And now I'm going to go ahead and add. So I'm going to add from the right. So 9 and 0, 7 and 9 is 16. So I carry the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7. I'm going to bring down my decimal point. 8 and 8 is 16. 1 and 5 is 6. So I get 66 and 769 thousandths. And if I just did some quick estimation based off of what the whole number is, this would be called front end estimation. 58 plus 8 is 66. My answer is a little bit bigger than 66. I know it should be around, 66, and it looks like I did a good job. You guys check me, make sure I did my math right. Okay, so let's look at this next one, see how you did. So we had 172 and 9/10 plus 14. So I'm going to put the decimal point, 2 and the 8 after the decimal point, 4 and the 1 before. So again, everything is lined up according to its place value. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick in a 0 there above the 8. So I have my equal number of decimal places. And now I can go ahead and add 0 and 8, 9 and 2 is 11. Bring down my decimal point. 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7. 7 and 1 is 8. 1 plus nothing is 1. So I got 187 and 18 hundredths. And again, 172, 14 is about 186. So it's pretty close. It's just that I'm adding 0.9 to 28 hundredths. That's why it's a little bit. Okay, so that brings us to subtraction. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some subtracting of decimal values. So let's go through it. So we start off the same way that we did with addition. We're going to write the problem vertically. We're going to add some zeros so we have equal number of decimal places. Then we're going to subtract, bring down the decimal point. So it's not any different than addition. It's just we're doing subtraction. Okay, but it is very important with subtraction that you do have the equal number of decimal places. So make sure you add those zeros if you need to. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, and I can't go 0 take away 9, so I have to borrow. So I go to the 10th place, or the hundredths place, I should say. And I'm going to borrow 1, which gives me 10 thousandths. So I just go ahead and I personally do the little 1 there, but I know that some teachers tell you to write 10, but I know it's a 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. I can do 1 minus 0, so I get 1. I can't do 0 minus 7, so I'm going to go ahead and borrow from the ones place. So it becomes a 2. And then my tens place, I have 10 tenths, which is equal to 1. So 10 minus 7, 3. Bring down my decimal point. Can't do 2 minus 8, but I can do 12 minus 8. So 12 minus 8 is 4. You don't actually have to borrow there because that's some arithmetic you can do in your head. 12 minus 8. Okay, so our answer is 4 and 311 thousandths would be the difference. Okay, so go ahead, pause your video for a second, do these two problems. Okay, let's see how we did. So we had 95 minus 17 and 34 hundredths. So remember, this has a hidden decimal, and that means we're going to put 2 zeros after it. So sometimes people get a little confused with borrowing here, so we had to go to the ones place to borrow 1, which means this became a 10, but then we had to borrow from it, so it became a 9, and this became a 10. So you ended up with 10 take away 4, which is 6, 9 take away 3, which is 6. Bring down my decimal point. 4 minus 7 can't do, so I go to borrow from the 9. I got an 8. And now I have 14 minus 7, which is 7. 8 minus 1 is 7. 77 and 66 hundredths. Okay, next one. See how you did. So we go ahead and we're going to write it vertically. So my first number is 109 and 1 hundredths. And now minus, I'm going to put my decimal point, so I got everything in the right place. To the right, it's a 9, an 8, and a 9. And to the left, it's 54. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in a 0 above the 9, so I have an equal number of decimal places. And now I'm ready. So I have to borrow from the 1 here, so in the hundredths place, and that becomes a 0, and I add 10 there to the thousandths place, so 10 minus 9 is 1. Can't do 0 minus 8, so I'm going to go all the way to 9, borrow 1, so this becomes a 10. I have to borrow from it, so it becomes a 9 when I make this one a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 9 is 0. I'm at my decimal point, so I bring it down. 8 minus 4 is 4. And then I can either borrow, or I could just do 10 minus 5. Just use your common sense. 10 minus 5 is 5. So the difference is 54 and 21 thousandths.